Legendary potential determines whether a unique item can be turned into a legendary item in Last Epoch. The concept is simple enough, and so is the procedure, as you'll learn in this video. This guide will take you from start to finish on how to upgrade your items with legendary potential. At the end of the video, you'll also learn what Weaver's Will does to an item. First, you'll need a unique item with legendary potential, and these will become more frequent as you become higher level, and even more so once you begin Empowered Monoliths, which is the scaling endgame system. The amount of legendary potential an item has will determine how many affixes it will obtain from the exalted item you merge it with. This exalted item will need to be the same base and have 4 affixes. We'll talk more about that later, because first you need to travel to the Temporal Sanctum, complete the dungeon, and defeat Julra. This means you'll require a key, and you simply insert it here in a somewhat vague slot. After doing so, head forward, and at this point you can use the D button to swap timelines within the dungeon. This will be necessary to complete the dungeon and defeat the boss. This is a multi-floor dungeon, and typically the way forward is found in the up or north direction. Now it can vary, but this is always a good place to start looking first. As you make your way through the map, remember you need to swap timelines using the D button. This may open otherwise closed doorways and make paths accessible. Swap back and forth as needed until finding the objective. Again, you may need to cycle the timeline to interact and head further. The process is the same for the next floor as well. Eventually you'll arrive in an area that doesn't have the objective showing on the minimap. If it's not there, just swap the timeline. You'll be given a warning about the encounter with Julra, and during this encounter you can again swap timelines mid-battle. This is vital to completing the encounter as the difficulty scales higher. The most dangerous two abilities will be the large clock on the ground and the spinning beams. You can swap timelines to remove these obstacles, and then you can revert after they've expired, or simply wait for Julra to come to you. After defeating Julra, proceed forward and you'll see your stash along with a cache of sorts. Interact with this cache and you'll have one of 2 versions. One version is where you pick up the completed merged item. The other is where you place the 2 items to have them combined. If needed, swap timelines to get to the version where you place the 2 items. On the left, put your unique item with legendary potential that you'd like to upgrade. On the right, put an exalted item with the same base. That means a unique body armor with legendary potential needs an exalted body armor with 4 affixes. A wand needs a wand, and so on. Depending on the number of legendary power that the unique item has, it will receive that many random affixes from the exalted item when you return to the other timeline to retrieve it. Remember, the exalted item will need 4 affixes. It's okay if it's had an affix move through a glyph of despair, provided it still has 2 prefixes and 2 suffixes otherwise. If you find an exalted item that doesn't have 2 prefixes and 2 suffixes, you can always use the forge in order to get them. I'll leave a link in the video description where you can see a guide to the forge as well. After, one of the timelines has a path that'll lead you back to the outside. As for Weaver's Will, it's another property you'll encounter as you reach the endgame if you haven't already. Weaver's Will is of course different than legendary potential. Rather than being able to randomly place an affix from an exalted item onto the unique, the Weaver will grant new affixes or boost one of the granted affixes to the item. This is done simply by equipping the item and killing enemies. These added affixes have the potential to be incredibly powerful or completely useless for your build. The items have decent drop rates at higher levels, so you'll find multiple versions of these, and you can try your luck with getting affixes that benefit the builds or characters that you have. Best of luck, and as always, thanks for taking the time to watch.